My role here tonight is to introduce formally Peter Howell and Alan Doyle. Alan Doyle and I are probably the only Montreal Habs fans in this room. I take that back. Alan actually tweets about the Habs and how they're doing in each game. Last night was not a good night for us. Peter Howell has been a published journalist since 1976 and has covered the Canadian music scene for more than 30 years. He's been a member of our entertainment department since 1991 and is currently our acclaimed film critic. But before he switched to reviewing films, Peter was our acclaimed music critic. And he knows the history of the Canadian music scene as well as anyone in this country. He has interviewed the music stars of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and right up to today. And as music critic, one of Peter's most interesting accomplishments was he was one of the first journalists in North America to host a regular online column. Seems odd talking about online as being one of the first these days. When he created the online blog Cyberpop, years ahead of the curve when it came to what today is known as social media. He's also an author. First of a novel, Hot Pine, tale of mystery and lust set in Algonquin Park, hopefully not in the winter. And now he has a new ebook published by the Star of his reviews of his favorite films entitled Movies I Can't Live Without. And yes, Peter loves Oscar time. Alan Doyle. Well, it's a long, long, long way from Petty Harbor. As you know, Alan is best known as one of the lead singers of Great Big Sea, a little gig that took him around the world. But he does a lot more than that. He's an actor, and actually back in that room, we spent more time talking about movies that he's done. He's a producer, he's an arranger, and now he's an author with his new memoir, Where I Belong, chronicling his childhood in tiny Petty Harbor and his remarkable career. Alan started playing music at a young age. His mother was a piano teacher. And while he was still a teenager, he moved to St. John's and pursued a degree in English and religion at Memorial University. But music was his real passion, and he spent way too many nights as a solo artist in the city's pubs, belting out folk songs and classic rock for rowdy patrons. In 1993, he joined forces with fellow pub warriors, Sean McCann, Bob Hallett, and Darryl Power, and formed Great Big Sea, with Alan assuming the role of lead singer, using traditional Newfoundland music with their own pop sensibilities. And all these years later, Great Big Sea can still pack theaters and arenas across North America. In his spare time, Alan is much in demand as a producer, arranger, and general musical catalyst, having produced albums for actor Russell Crowe. He's got lots of great Russell stories. And Juno Award winners, The Irish Descendants, among others. He's furnished soundtracks for movies, TV series, and even a best-selling video game. In 2010, Alan joined his friend, Russell Crowe, on screen playing the role of a troubadour in the blockbuster Robin Hood. He's also a bit modest. Here's what he said in a recent interview about being lucky, about being successful. Quote, "I was lucky to be born into an awesome place with an awesome family, awesome parents, and an awesome musical place. When the job came for some dude to sing in a band like Great Big Sea, it turned out I was ready. So that's luck. Your life is yours to live, but some of things, like where I was born, the friends I have, I feel really lucky. Tonight, we are lucky to have Alan Doyle. Please welcome Peter Howell and Alan Doyle. Great to see you.
First of all, they said it was like a library thing, but there's a bar open in the back.
I know.
Now hold on.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. This is a really fine book. I really enjoyed reading this. And I learned from this that there's an expression that maybe you need to explain to us when you say, "What are you at?" What are you at, Alan Doyle?
Well, the only answer, by the way, is what are you at? And
Standoff.
yeah, it's like it's like so many things in Newfoundland. It only lives in Newfoundland. And what are you at was one of those things that was said to this day, but when I was a kid, and it was just an odd kind of greeting, like, because it doesn't mean where are you at necessarily, or it basically means how are you, basically. And like you say, it's one of those, I didn't realize till I started traveling around Canada in the early 90s that everyone didn't say, what are you at, It was kind of funny coming to Toronto for the first time and saying, what are you at, to people, and they would say, excuse me? And that happened a whole bunch, One of the other things, now that I think about it, this is not your question I'm answering, it's some other question, but I hope that's all right.
It's okay, you're the star. I'm just...
When we came to Toronto the first time, I remember one of the things that you always asked for at home in Newfoundland, it was a lot, in rural Newfoundland, it was really hard to get fresh milk, right? So my folks were brought up on canned milk, like tin milk. But of course, in the new age, you could get both canned milk and fresh milk. So, one of the things you'd ask for to be posh in a restaurant is like, I'll have tea with fresh milk, please.
Yeah.
Who
wants the clean glass?
And restaurants and, coffee shops in Newfoundland understood what that meant. You should have seen the look on their faces when they showed up in Toronto and said, I'll have a cup of tea with fresh milk, please.
Speaking of things that I didn't realize, I just dived into this book, and I was really enjoying it. And these type of books, particularly when it's about a rock star, usually it begins like a few pages of here I was born, and I was hatched, or whatever, right? So I'm reading it, and I'm going, okay, Petty Harbour, really interesting story. I'm really enjoying this stuff, and I get to page 100, and I say, I guess we'll get into the part soon where he pushes the TV set off the hotel balcony, but I'm going to page 200, still none of that. I guess we'll get to the point soon where he's hanging out with Russell Crowe on the set of Robin Hood, and getting to page 300 and still Petty Harbour, but I'm still enjoying it. So I'm thinking, like, didn't you get the memo about what rock stars are supposed to do? Like, why this? Why this wonderful book?
Well, I sort of thought as well that when we started writing a book that we would eventually get to that, but then as it turned out, I had so much to say about my early life that we felt like we had 2 books before we'd even get to the time I turned 20 and the band started. And I think it was all part of realizing, thanks to Nita Pronovo's here, who's, Nita, stand up and take a round of applause if you don't mind. My joke is kind of like, how did you write the book? I said, well, I just did what Nita told me. But I thank God for her, because she pointed out time and time again that the stuff that I thought was just kind of, regular, she, pointed out smartly to me that people would find that interesting, you know? I thought I was going to write a book about being a rock star, So she's like, tell me about the early stuff. Well, I said, I'll tell you about my first distortion pedal. This is amazing. Amazing. I hitchhiked to St. John's. I was going to go buy a Boss NS1, an NS1 now, not the NS3, because guitar nerd, I thought this would be fascinating. And, the yellow one with the 3 knobs, not the blue one with the, and so I left cutting out tongues on the wharf, and I hitchhiked to town to get the distortion pedal. She says, well, what's cutting out tongues on the wharf? Oh, it's about cutting out cotton tongues. But anyway, this distortion pedal was amazing. And so that's sort of, it was that kind of...
Fortunately, that's not in the book.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
But you know
But
what?
it was that kind of thing where I had to kind of learn through her eyes, I suppose, what... I mean, I thought some of the funnier stories, because I've been telling them, some of the character stories in the book I've been telling my whole life, because they are funny. Or funny,
Well, let me name some of these characters. I wrote down a few names. You got guys like the Butler, very interesting character.
Yeah,
Waymaster Jack.
yeah.
Gabby, the Beast of Skinner's Hill. These are all apparently real people.
It
And this,
reads like a Marvel comic.
It
when you
does.
point it out like that.
I
Villains, superheroes.
got to call in to Stan Lee on this thing. And Cruel Mr. Grushu, your teacher. Cruel Mr. Grushu, is that how you pronounce it?
Mr. Guju.
Gushi, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and other interesting things. I love this line here. I guess I'm assuming nobody else here, maybe there's some Newfoundlanders here, what cutting out a cod's tongue is. Some of you know that. Most Torontonians wouldn't, but you explained it very well. But I love this line where he says, tongue cutting was a young man's game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. And
Well, yeah, it sounds, when you put it that way, it sounds kind of aggressive.
it's not a job you can grow old in.
Well, one of the titles I thought about for the book, and I'm so glad once again that Nita talked me out of it now, but I thought it would be a great thing. I said, what should we call the book? And I was like, let's call it Cutting Out Your Tongue or something like that. And she's like, no. Okay, can I have your tongue? No. I said, that's cool. And she's like, no. Well, it's cool, but you will frighten people. And I was like, so.
Where It Belongs is a very appropriate title because I think you want to bring us to your home. You want us to know your home. You've been traveling so much for the last 20 years. And did you feel a longing to return? I mean, it's a really natural thing to want to return home.
Yeah, I think more than even return home is that the more I traveled, the more I realized that my sort of path to the stage or to where I am is not a typical one. And the place that I grew up wasn't better or worse than anywhere else necessarily, but it was unique, And I suppose that's all you want from a story is that to learn about a time and place that wasn't like anywhere else. And I guarantee you, growing up in Petty Harbour wasn't like growing up anywhere else.
It certainly wasn't. You got a great quote, page 219, which I wanted to write down because I thought it was interesting. It was sort of contrary to what we might think. You know the tourism myth of the Newfoundland kitchen party and how everyone thinks we Newfoundlanders just sit around a big kitchen drinking and playing music almost every other night, like it's all a perfect postcard? Well, it was never a postcard for me. It was my reality. It's how I grew up. It's everything I knew. Now, I would have expected you to say that's all just mainlanders making up stuff, but you said...
It's funny because where I grew up and when I grew up in Petty Harbour, in my house, the whole thing about, parties in the kitchen and all that, that's just, I was in my teenage years before I even knew that was odd. Like, I thought that that's what everybody did, when you ran out of oil and you had no, you had no firewood, you just sort of hung out in the kitchen and left the stove on, and that's what I just assumed. That was a great laugh, One of the things, like, we always sort of made the most of the strangest times, like when we would run out of oil in the winter. Like, that was cause for a great celebration, It's like, hey, in a pure Newfoundland way, hey, was there a tragedy? Well, let's all get together. And I love that spirit about Newfoundland where I feel like, I don't know, we're not the best at everything, but we're really, really good at hard times. Yeah, like...
Yeah. A lot of the book you talk about the Catholic and Protestant divide in your town, Petty Harbour, but it doesn't sound at all hostile. It sounds like.
It was.
Was it?
In my grandmother's time, it was hostile, man. They would meet on the bridge and they'd go at it, and it was a holdover, in my day. And Petty Harbour wasn't the only place in Newfoundland like it, by the way, but Petty Harbour was sort of the picture, again, like the postcard place for it, because it's just perfectly divided right up the middle by this river that divides the Catholic half and the crowd that are going to hell half. And to quote my grandmother. Yeah. And again, that's another thing that, I never really thought much about that until I was a grown-up, a week and a half ago. And, but it was a unique kind of thing that where you learned a hard lesson, like a big world lesson, kind of accidentally. You know what I mean? Like, that, you know, we would have been so much better off if there had been, you know, just one school for all the kids to go to. It would make way more sense, you know? It wouldn't have been, yet, you know, just one fish plant for all the people to work in, you know? And it just, I mean, in retrospect, it's archaic and bizarre, but I mean, it's just, I guess it's a sign of the times. But my favorite parts was always, you know, trying to get my grandmother, you know, just to learn the different ways that she would try to find out if we were going out with Protestant girls. It was always, like, so my grandmother was a really wise lady, and she was awesome. And she said such wonderful stuff all the time, like, Ellen, honey, still playing in the band? And I'd say, yeah. Not working. And I'd say, nope. But she was awesome. But she, you know, she didn't want to pry into our business. But she'd ask questions, you know, like, she'd want to know if we were going out with Protestant girls. She'd want to know bad, you know, because this was surely a sign of our damnation or whatever. And so she'd devise ways to do it, you know, like if my sister said, hey, Nan, you know, Bernie's got a new girl, like, you know, Debbie Clark. Oh, heavy. Well, that's grand, honey. Is that Clark with an E? Oh, no E. And my favorite part, of course, was her warning. She was so smart about everything else, and I don't know how this one came to her mind, but in her mind, this made total sense to tell a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old boy, you know, Nan, you know, what's your objection about the Protestant girls? Or, I don't want you going over there, because you know what that crowd are like? They'll have sex with you right away.
Okay, I come from a Catholic family of 8 kids. He's only got 4 in his. And I said, I thought you said you were Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, I was so Catholic that, like, you know, we used to say the rosary around the table and, you know, throwing holy water at each other and all that kind of stuff. And I was on the altar. I was on the altar for a number of years doing altar boy duty, and then sort of sang where I learned to play sort of a lot of the harder chords on guitar. Not that I know many of them, but was in the folk mass, you know, I guess it was in the late 70s, I suppose, when the folk revival of the Catholic Church came on. And then I've been fascinated by religion my whole life, and that's, you know, it's the biggest reason I studied it in university. I'm still fascinated by it. It still freaks me out what people will and won't do in the name of religion. You know, it's an amazing thing to me, because, you know, but it's a source of fascination to me, and I think it's partly because at a young age, probably even without knowing it, I was made aware of how divisive it could be and what an effect one way or the other, you know, divisions in religion could.
Well, even the cod cutters were Catholic and Protestant.
Oh,
right?
definitely,
Wow.
yeah. Well, we wouldn't be caught dead with that crowd. And but yeah, no, it was that kind of thing, right? And it was just, and again, that's all part and parcel of the whole notion of where the book sort of blossomed, I suppose, and this realization that I came from a place that was pretty weird. You know, it was like, again, and my buddies all say, you know, the stories that you tell about growing up in Petty Harbour are like the stories my grandfather tells about growing up in other parts of Newfoundland. It's like somehow it skipped a generation or something, and that this little place so close to St. John's was kind of more isolated and divided, sort of to itself than places that were hundreds of kilometers away.
And you know, these are great stories. A lot of times people, it's like as told to, but I get the impression you just sat down and this came out. It just flows very naturally. I mean, is that how it went?
A lot of it, like I say, the stories about the characters and that stuff, you know, are kind of stories that I would tell people if we're drinking in the pub or something like that, you know. So I'll tell you one time about that guy, you know, or about this missus or whatever. And that stuff I found came easier than some of the other stuff. Like Nisa asked me a couple of times, you had to describe what Petty Harbour is like to us. And I would make like a shape with my hand and go like, you know, like, it's kind of like that. And she'd say, Alan, you know, so I had to kind of learn a few skills, you know, to write a full book. And, oh yeah, I guess, well, look at it on the internet, I would say, or something like that. But
And
so, So I had to kind of learn some nuts and bolts, I suppose, that I never really had to learn before, and that was kind of one of them. So I just did it the only way I know how, and I just walked people through the town. It's like, and I suppose if the voice in the book is my own, it's because it's kind of the only one I have. You know what I mean? I don't know how to talk like anybody else.
I feel like I've heard about these characters in Great Big Sea songs. I mean, they seem to have all filtered through there.
Well, Newfoundland is the kind of place that's recorded its history in song, right? And in stories too, but songs in particular, like where the songs about the shipwreck and the songs about the guy who had one arm and, you know, got into a fight on the bridge, and another guy whose, you know, boat got lost, and, you know, foolish old Lukey whose boat is painted green, or, you know, some guy who, you know, Jack Hinks who did all this stuff on the ocean, or all these guys and these like superhero type people that are always referred to in Newfoundland song, and even in stories from Newfoundland, they sound mythical, right? Mm-hmm. They sound impossible, but they're not, you know. And like that's one of the strange things about being a storyteller from Newfoundland. In particular, my friends who work in, you know, television and film, they always have, you know, one of the things I think is challenging for most people is to make a story exciting enough to be put in film or on television, whereas in Newfoundland it's the opposite problem. Now, if we tell it like it actually happened, nobody will believe us. You know, and it's, you know, it is the place where, you know, giant squids do live off the coast of Newfoundland. You know, it is that place, right? It is a place where, you know, unsinkable ships run into icebergs. You know, it's that, it happened, you know, like, and it sounds impossible, but
Did you have to? I mean, I'm wondering. Did you at one point think you would have more stuff about Great Big Sea in there? Like it's interesting. Bob Dylan in his chronicles, he does sort of what you did. He just tells you about his early days and skips the later on stuff.
It was never my early intention to not get to the part about the band. I just couldn't shut up, I suppose, and I just felt like more and more as we sort of worked our way through it, that I saw the whole arc of the whole, my young life preparing me for the greatest job in the world, completely unknowingly. Mm-hmm. You know, and how that might be a story in and of itself.
And that includes your music, too, because you have this great line where you say, you describe yourself as, quote, a music lover who wasn't sure what music to love the most.
I know.
But then later on, he says, when people ask him what kind of music he does, he says, I like John Denver and I like Def Leppard.
Yeah.
That gives you the real
Again,
ring.
it's a perfect history, perfect, you know, time in history, because I was born in 1969, right? So when I was a teenager in the sort of the hair glory days of the 1980s, which was, by the way, amazing.
That explains why you love Pat Benatar, right?
Yeah, I love Pat Benatar. Can we just no?
It was the tight leather suit, right?
Yeah, no, it was that time, like I grew up in a family that loved traditional music, right? My father and they all sang all the Clancy Brothers songs, and of course they always loved the singer-songwriter people that everyone else their age loved in the late 70s and early 80s, Chris Christopherson and John Denver. And,
Neil Young. Yeah,
and those type, like, singer-songwriter people. And then, but of course, you know, when I was a teenager, we had Oz FM and the radio, and, you know, Poison was on. Fantastic, man. Have you seen someone goes like, you're listening to John Denver and it's all awesome. And then someone puts on a Whitesnake video when you're 14, you're like, that's awesome. And I don't know why, it never occurred to me, thankfully. And it's one of the things I try to point out early in the book about that very quote, and I'm grateful you gave me a chance to explain it, is that
I'm here for you, Ellen.
Thank you. Is that I never knew that I was supposed to like one or the other. It never occurred to me that I was supposed to like Def Leppard instead of John Denver, so I didn't. You know, and I point out that I never knew what was, because we were kind of in this isolated little place, I didn't know what was expected or unexpected. I didn't know what was cool or uncool. So, and that was one of the greatest things that could have ever happened to me. You know, I didn't. That never occurred to me.
What kind of reaction did you get? Like you're playing all these different kinds of music, and at first did you get a lot of quizzical looks or flying beer bottles?
No, no, because my sort of musical apprenticeship was always in, again, kind of like by osmosis. I mean, how lucky is that? I mean, I just sat in my living room or in my kitchen with my mother and father and my uncles and all their friends, and I just watched my Uncle Leonard play guitar and then listened to my Uncle Ronnie sing and my father sing and my mother play piano accordion, and I just tried to copy what they were doing. And then when I went to learn Def Leppard songs, I just learned them and then sang them next to a Clancy Brothers song. It was fine with me. And it was totally fine with them. They were like, hey, Alan's going to sing a song. Well, I'm going to do Bon Jovi. Awesome, let's do Bon Jovi. And fine, that was great. There wasn't like it was a very strict, what do you call it, like a canon or anything of the kitchen party in Newfoundland. It's one of the great things about that kind of party, right? It's like, you might have a song that someone wrote yesterday. Then, Uncle such and such might sing a 40-verse dirge about shipwreck where everyone dies. And after that, it might be, a Simon and Garfunkel song, and then it might be, Buddy Holly for a half an hour. Awesome.
I don't think in the book you actually say when did you discover that you could write a song? Like you've written some really
not
great.
till later. Not till later. I mean, I never, because really, with the exception of my Uncle Paul, like nobody ever really thought of that as, this is a very strange thing to say here tonight, as writing as work. But we never thought of it that way. It was never like, writing songs wasn't a big part of my young life. I didn't start to do it till I was in high school, when I started to realize, if you wanted to get Rhonda to go to the dance with you, if you sang her a Pat Benatar ballad, she might say yes. But if you sang her a song you wrote called Rhonda, Go to the Dance with Me, she almost would definitely say yes.
What if you sang her Help Me Rhonda?
Help Me Rhonda, something like
yeah.
If you slide, the more, even if you, like I learned early on, if you just sort of subtly do it, like sort of, why am I confessing this to you now? I don't know why. But if you say, I like girls with, basketball jackets with number 12 on them or something like that.
Where does a song like Ordinary Day come from? You mentioned it in the book, but it's obviously one of your great songs.
Yeah, thank you.
Where does that come from?
It was on our the Great Big Sea record, the yellowy one. What's the record called? Play, yeah, with the toy on the front. Yeah. And that was sort of like it was kind of like our sophomore record, even though it was our third record, because we had done the indie record, the blue one. And that's how I call them all, the blue one and the blue.
It was a cassette tape.
Yeah, that's right.
Cassette tape.
We did the blue one, and then we did the up one, right? With and then we did the yellow one. And we had just done really well. We got signed to Warner, and it was going really good. And I really wanted to have a song. I think the one that was on the up record was Going Up, right? And I was like, okay, that was kind of cool because it was something we all say, hey, she's going up tonight, right? Okay, so and then I wanted to have something that was kind of in that vein, that was a little sort of that talked about the Newfoundland disposition, But how do I do it? And I wanted it to be kind of sailory and fisherman-y and stuff. And it was really the first time in my life I ever sat down to try to write a song like something. I wanted, okay, this is what I want the end product to look like. Most times, especially then, it was just like, I don't know, I'm just going to write some stuff and see if it's any good. But that one was the first time I ever remember going like, I want it to end up like this, and I want the Bowron in it to sound like Save This House, and I want the guitar to sound like Glass Tiger. I'm serious.
Glass Tiger?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we came through this land. We gave our hearts, we gave them our hands. Oh, Diamond Sun. That's the name of the song. You know the song? Oh, Diamond Sun has to... Don't play these back to back. I'll be sick. No, but it was just those, and like, Save This House by Spirit of the West, and it was this acoustic-driven thing. I always loved Diamond. I thought that was such an awesome song, Diamond Sun. Just that one and a few other ones, sort of the way, the way Pinball Wizard starts.
Yep.
Like that kind of, where it's driven by that kind of...
Great riff.
And then it was very planned, like, and then so I planned, it was like, okay, then, and I wrote the song, the chorus I had written really quickly, and then I wrote the first verse about, okay, and then I heard a story on, I think it was on CBC television, about a girl who was just starting out in the music biz out in Vancouver, who moved from Calgary, and got mugged on the street, but just sort of picked up her guitar and kept on going. And I thought that was the perfect thing because I wanted to write the second verse about a person. So in the song, she's called Janie, right? Janie sings on the corner. This is me playing guitar. Janie sings on the corner. But that's Jan Arden. Janie's Jan Arden, and she's a hero of mine for a long time. And
You're a hero of hers, too.
well, there you go. Well, yeah, she wrote the foreword in the book,
She did,
thank God
yeah.
to her. But so then it was almost all done, but I couldn't figure out a way to wrap it up. I couldn't figure out a way to finish the song. Everything I wrote, and it needed to be something cool and poetic. And I was getting pissed off in the van one day, and Sean was sat behind me, Sean McCann, in the van, and he said, "What is your problem anyway?" I said, "Man, I cannot finish this friggin' song. I think it's really cool. I need been working on it for a month. I need some cool way to wrap it up." And Sean wrote the last verse, which is so beautiful. In this beautiful life, there's always some sorrow. It's a double-edged knife, but there's always tomorrow. It's up to you now if you're single swim. Keep the faith. Your ship will come in. It's not so bad, that kind of thing. He wrote it in about 40 seconds, and I wanted to punch him right in the face. It was so good. But I've been so grateful for that sort of last verse forever because, and yeah, so that's the story of the song, and it still is really one of the only times I ever successfully, because usually that's the death knell, right, if you're a songwriter. I want it to sound like this in the end. Like you should never know the ending. You should make your way to it, and it is let it live its own kind of path. But that one was I'm so grateful for that song. Yeah.
Can I ask you about another one?
Yeah.
Consequence Free is one
yeah.
I like. I've met some people like that song. How did that one come about? And you talk about Catholic guilt in that one, too.
Consequence Free, it goes like, I want to be consequence free. You know the one I'm talking about?
Go ahead and sing it.
I want to be, I want to be consequence free. I want to be where nothing needs to matter. I want to be consequence free, and just go na 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 na, right? Anyway, that was a similar situation with that one, except the original lyric. God, no one put this on the internet.
Nobody.
But the original lyric I stole from Mike Myers. It's true. I stole it from Austin Powers.
Wow.
I don't remember which Austin Powers. I think it's the first one.
Spire Chevy, or International Man.
Where he comes back and he makes a comment, how are you, or whatever. You're going, I can't remember the context, but he says, well, I'm sure everything is fine as long as people are not going around having unprotected sex in a consequence-free environment like dirty sailors. And I was just like, he doesn't need the money, though. I mean,
no one here's going to tell him. He'll never hear about it.
But that's where that came from, and then the whole notion of like all the other stuff came from, obviously, growing up in Petty Harbor and the Catholic guilt of it all, and the whole, the whole story of, just wishing just for one night that, I suppose maybe in the 80s rock and roll lore of it, where every behind the music, and Def Leppard and Whitesnake video you saw, they didn't seem like they cared about anything, and they got away with it somehow. Like,
yeah.
And of course, in the real world, it's not true. And one night it'd be nice where you could just, they go like, guess what, guys? And like, it was sort of our joke with several of our friends, that I studied with in the earliest part of my religious studies degree have become priests, And so friends of mine who are priests now, and my joke with them all the time is, come on, general absolution. Let's go. I know you can do it. Pass your hand. Pass your hand over the place. Do it. Wash the unclean. Come on.
Those are handy friends for a rock
I
star
know,
to have.
it's so awesome. Like, great.
You told me backstage. You told me about Green Room. You told me about the Russell Crowe incident when you were, with the song, where the Entertainment Tonight shows up. Will you tell the people here that great story about
Shameless self-promotion. We were doing I met Russell here in Toronto, by the way. That's where we met first. He was doing a movie called Cinderella Man, and it was a great time. And he was we met at the NHL Hockey Awards. And I walked over to go say, we were both giving out a trophy, and I walked over to go say hello to him backstage. And before I got to him, he said, hey, you're Alan, right? And I was like, you're the gladiator. And he said, hey, man, I'm a big fan of your band. And I was like, who told you to come? It was one of those kind of moments, right? And yeah, so we just ended up doing all this cool stuff together. Like we wrote a bunch of songs for a record with his band, and then a couple of like solo records that we've done together, and then songs for Great Big Sea and songs for a couple of movies, and then like we mentioned earlier, he called me one day and asked me, because Russell has only ever one conversation. It's like the phone rings, and no, even if you haven't talked to him in 7 months, it's like, yeah, so can you play the lute? He's like, yes. Can you ride horses? Are you kidding me? I'm from the sweeping plains of Petty Harbor. Of course I can. So I ended up doing the Robin Hood movie, and so it was so much fun. It was like, what a thrill! Like, it was so amazing, even though it was terrifying because I didn't have, it was I was such a novice on.
So Entertainment Tonight showed up.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank God you're here.
I'm a straight man. It's okay.
Thank
That's
you.
my job. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to make the most of it, both for the movie and my own self, like, not that stunned, anyway. So the Entertainment Tonight are coming to shoot on the set. And I'm in the back of my mind trying to figure out, I'm getting on that friggin' television show. I don't care if I got to light myself on fire. And so, and I realized they were coming. I was like, and I had the lute, so I sort of took about an hour the night before they were coming, and I learned to play the Entertainment Tonight theme on the. So here's Alan and Dale. They're coming to interview Ridley Scott and Kate Blanchett and Russell and all the the bigs, right? And here's this doofus over there with a
Do the theme.
With a lute going. And I could see Russell looking at me with sort of a glare in his eye going like. He's like, that's going to get on the show. And I was like.
One of the pleasures of reading this book, when you live in a place like Toronto, you hear about events happening in the world, and you feel sympathy for them. But Alan is this great description of what happened in 1992 when the government of Canada was forced to basically shut down the cod fishing industry.
Forced,
right? And I just want to read you this section here. Petty Harbor fell quiet, like many other fishing villages that were victims of the cod moratorium in the early 90s. On that day in 1992, one of the darkest in Newfoundland history, in an effort to conserve fish stocks, the Canadian government effectively forced the extinction of a Newfoundland way of life that had persevered through centuries. The government of Canada declared inshore cod fishing illegal. And with that declaration, Petty Harbor, along with much of rural Newfoundland, was forever changed. The deep rumbling sound heard in my town that day was my granddad spinning in his grave.
Yeah.
You really bring us into that thing, but can you talk a bit about what it was like, just how badly that hit your town?
Well, the grandfather part of it was always because my grandfather was, of course, my parents. I mean, I was born in the country called Canada, but my mom and dad weren't, right? They were born in the country called Newfoundland.
It was a very close vote, too.
51-49.
Yeah.
And people like my grandfather never, ever accepted it, right? They never, ever accepted that Newfoundlanders had at all voted their nationality away and to join Canada, Not that he was particularly hateful of Canada, he was kind of curious about it a little because he used to always say stuff like, I heard have you got another concert up in Canada? Stuff like that. Yeah. What do they like up there? What do they like up there? They're nice. Yeah, I heard that. That kind of. But he always swore that that joining Canada was the ruination of Newfoundland, and it would he said they'll take everything. They will take everything. They'll take the fish from the water. They will be over. And I remember that day, and I was like, oh my God, it was just. But it was a death knell, man. Now Petty Harbor, luckily, was so close to St. John's that it sort of was able to ride the darkest times through the transition because it was a bedroom community for St. John's and that kind of stuff. And now people in Petty Harbour, fishermen in Petty Harbour, have kind of repurposed their boats and are doing some cod fishery that's returned, and are doing a lot of crab fishing and a lot of stuff. So after a decade or so, Petty Harbour is starting to look a little bit like it used to. You know, like there's activity on the wharves. It's so cool to spend a summer there now. Like, and it looks, anyone's gone in the last few years, like it's a pretty active place again. But man, oh man, to go there for a decade, like in my young sort of adult life, and to see Petty Harbour quiet in the summertime was spooky. You know, it'd be like walking down the middle of Manhattan with nobody there, man. It's like, it was, because for my whole young life, for 6-7 months a year, Petty Harbour was a 24-hour town. You know, there was fish plants going 24 hours a day, boats coming and going all the time, trucks driving, guys cursing, guys drinking beer, dogs barking, you know, machines, stuff, and people over by the store eating lunches, and it was like, it was impossible, and trust me, it's to my own detriment, to sneak into Petty Harbour. Like if you were, you know, just hypothetically some young fellow who was playing in a band or something, and you were trying to sneak home at 4:30 in the morning after some failed courtship ritual in the Goulds, hypothetically speaking, and you were trying to get back into Petty Harbour without your mother knowing what time it was impossible. Like, there was always somebody up in Petty Harbour, you know, and to see it fall quiet was wicked. And I mean, of course, luckily, Petty Harbour has rebounded, and many rural Newfoundland communities have, but many haven't, right? And it will never be the same again. And it was just it was a devastating blow to a place that was built on the inshore cod fishery, to have the inshore cod fishery taken away. I mean, it's not like a what you would call like a factory town, right? Where, you know, people from this town have this factory and it shuts, right? In favor of this factory. Or they go to a different factory here. The entire, I mean, Newfoundland's a big island, right? And all the coast of Labrador. It's a lot of geography, you know? You can't leave that place and go 20 kilometers or 50 kilometers or 80 kilometers down the coast to another place that's doing, well, I'll go to the other fish place. There is no other fish place, you know? So it was devastating, and it was like, I'm so relieved that it's to see the life back into the place, but you know, the strong survived, right? But you know, a lot of coastal Newfoundland places will never be seen again.
Did people accept the necessity of it? No, they wouldn't. They thought it was some plot out of Ottawa or something?
Yes, yeah.
Even today?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Or, you know, it's that thing where I guess, I mean, I'm not a fisherman, you know, nor my family, so it was one of the weird things about being a Doyle in Petty Harbour, where I was just musicians. But like, but they always, I've never heard a fisherman from Petty Harbour say, you know, that was a pretty good idea. I'm glad they shut that down, you know, or whatever. Or, you know, that kind of thing where it's blamed on someone else or whatever, you know. And I mean, I'm not the guy to tell you if it was right or wrong or not. You know,
I mean, Ottawa and good idea. That's not a phrase we use much here either.
I'm not necessarily saying one way or the other that it was great or bad. I mean, I know the impact it had.
We'll be taking some questions soon, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the state of Great Big Sea, because you lost Sean McClan less than a year ago.
Yeah.
Now, how did that affect you?
Well, he's still here. I mean,
well, he's still here. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I only think he's dead or something. I mean, he's like,
he's on his own now. He's doing solo.
Just got an email from him like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Bad turn of phrase. I'm going to get crucified on Twitter for this. But
no, you're right. We're sort of in a hiatus. Like we just finished 21 years together. We did over 100 gigs on our 20th anniversary tour, the XX tour. Thank you very much. And it's like a marriage. It's like we say.
Yeah.
But then towards the end of it, Sean decided he wants to go it all on his own, and you know, love and respect to him for doing it. And then we had a break planned for this year to see what we were going to do next. And then Sean leaving might have had, you know, months to that hiatus, but you know, we're working through
the Great Big Sea is going to come back?
Oh, I certainly hope so. That's our plan. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, why don't we?
Oh, there's a microphone.
We have some mics here, and
is that for me to go to that or someone?
No, you stay here.
I stay here. It just
And,
looks like such a singing microphone.
Please ask them as questions, because I think we have a lot of people who want to talk to Alan, and try to avoid the long preambles. Just ask your question, and we'll get some things going. So does anybody have a question for Alan Doyle? Well, do you want to go to the mic there?
All right, we can just
Thanks.
pass it around, too.
Yeah. I think you need a mic for the,
Oh, go ahead,
the
yeah.
taping, yeah.
So I'm curious, you're a musician, but you're a frightened actor. Question for you, why is it that musicians can make the transition into acting, but actors don't always make very good musicians?
It's so
Why is that?
unfair. I know. It's a total double. Did I see Kristen out there? Is Kristen here? Oh, there she is. Kristen is here. Now see, Kristen. This is Kristen Pellerin from Republic of Doyle. They're debuting tomorrow night. That's not someone else I know. Kristen is an actress. Do I see Mark? Where's Mark? Do I see Mark? There he is. There's Mark. Mark is here. Oh, sorry, that's my fault. I'm a professional singer.
Yep. Hello, Cleveland.
Hello, Cleveland. Is that good? They're all good? Well, Mark is a professional singer by trade, and Kristen is a professional actress by trade, but I don't know if Mark's ever acted. Do you act every time, Mark? Whatever. But Kristen is a beautiful singer herself. She's gorgeous, and not a bad singer either. I don't know. I just saw you in the audience, and much of the few acting chops I have learned thanks to people like Kristen and Alan, Hocko, and Russell, and Scott Grimes, and friends. Almost every acting gig I've ever had, I've had because friends of mine were doing a project that they wanted me involved in, or that I weaseled my way onto somehow. And I'm so grateful to, all the Republic of Doyle guys especially, because they've had me on more than once. And, and they're always, Kristen knows what I'm talking about. They're always they're so kind to me all the time. It's like, they say stuff like, someone says cut after a scene, and they go, that was good. Just come with me. And it's like, it's either Kristen or, remember Big Kevin, my friend Kevin Duran, who was on Republic of Doyle with us, and he played Little John in Robin Hood movie, Kev is from Thunder Bay, and he's massive, right? Kev is like 6'45", and he's spending a lot of time here now doing a TV show called, is it called Stain or Strain? The Strain, yeah. And he's an awesome dude, and he's fantastic, and he's such a gentle person for a mountain, and he would say stuff like, yeah, that was good, come with me. And he would say stuff like, when you say, let's go get the horses, you have to imagine that the people at home probably know what horses look like. And they might even take a picture of the horses and say it and show it while you're saying horses. So the next take, there's no need for you to go, let's go get the horses. So I'm not sure, it is unfair. It is unfair how when musicians go to act, they go look at that. But you know what I think about now, and I never thought about it before until just now. In the book, I talk about how early on I became aware of being a singer, buys you a long leash for everything. I saw it with my uncles, like when I was growing up. I saw it all the time. It's like, you guys, you can't stand over there. We're in the band. Oh, cool. You can't go in that door. We're in the band. Oh. Yeah, and I've seen it my whole life, and maybe it's true for acting too. It's like, hey, I'm a singer. What are you doing? I'm going to act in this movie. That's so awesome. I don't know. And maybe famous, actors or whatever.
Russell's good though. Russell's a good musician.
He's an amazing lyricist, man. He's fantastic, and it's like Scott Grimes is an amazing musician. Kristen is an amazing singer, and we'll be at the pub later. We're doing a duo show.
We got another question for you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hi.
Anyway, I don't know is the short answer. I'm sorry to ramble on.
I
don't know, but yes, you're right.
on?
It's true. There is a double standard, and I'm very grateful that it leans on my side. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Hi. I have a comment and then a question, okay? Quick comment. My first memorable moment watching Great Big Sea was on a family vacation in the States in a hotel room late at night. And that was amazing. I didn't know you guys before then, but that was amazing. Ever since then, I was a fan of yours. And I'm sure all of you people here have memorable moments for your first experience with Great Big Sea, and I think you can remember it, and that's amazing. Now for the question. How many of you people are going to be at Alan Doyle's concert at Rose Garden Sunday, February the 1st in Brampton? That's where he's going to be.
Yeah.
I want to party with that dude right now.
Yeah, I'm glad your manager could make it tonight.
I know.
Next question, please.
Hello. Hi. Huge fan. Quick question. You've been all over the world. Is there a town that you especially like visiting and you think, yes, I'm going there? And
Yeah.
the flip side, a little bit more controversially, is there one that you kind of think, oh gosh, I have to go back there again?
Ottawa.
You don't have to answer that one if you don't want to.
You know, and it sounds like a diplomatic answer, but I don't know if there's anywhere I've been where I don't ever want to go back to. You know, it's like the wanderlust that's in me always not only tries to find the good in places, but kind of enjoys when it's shitty. I kind of enjoy learning if a place is shitty. Are we allowed to say shitty?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, and it's not just like the blind optimism either. It's kind of weird curiosity of like there's a town in England, and I won't say the name because it's unfair, but we were touring, but it's London. No, kidding. Yeah. London. There's a town in England. We were touring with this Scottish band called Runrig, and they're huge band. Yes, of course, fabulous band. And Callum, one of the guys in the band, I said, Callum, where are we? We were opening for Runrig, you know, and I was like, where are we tomorrow? And he said, tomorrow, Alan, we're in such and such a place, where the words shite and hole are never too far apart. That was so awesome. But yeah, so I'm not just being like, I don't know. I've never really gone to a place that I went like, man, like I've had nights in places where I want that night over, right? But the crazy person in me can't wait to go back and better that night, you know. So, but then there are places in the world though, like it's a joy. There are hidden gems in Canada, right? That people I don't think get to go to enough. And you know, Saskatoon is one of them. I don't think Saskatoon is amazing, great little town. Quebec City is easily the most beautiful city in North America. You know, New Orleans. If you don't have fun in New Orleans, then I'm sorry. They're really bad for you.
How do people in Petty Harbour describe Toronto?
Well, my grandmother and her generation, all that, Toronto, as it would be pronounced in Petty Harbour, Toronto sort of starts somewhere west of Moncton and ends somewhere east of Calgary, right? So it's like, where are you going? Well, I'm going to Thunder Bay. Where's that? Sort of, you know, in the northern part of Ontario. Toronto. It's like, Toronto's the best thing. Toronto always had this reputation when I was a kid of being the unfriendly city, right? It was the big brother of Canada for the longest while.
Don't know where you got that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's strange because it always had this reputation in Eastern Canada, certainly in Newfoundland, of being unfriendly, right? And like, because for the longest while, especially for Eastern Canadians, Toronto was probably the only English-speaking big city they'd ever been to, right? So they weren't comparing it to any other big city. And you don't have to go to many big cities in the world to realize that Toronto's actually a really friendly big city, but it's a big city, you know? You know, not everyone's going to stop you on the road and ask you if you got any canned milk or fresh milk.
Yeah.
But
We will next time.
it is a joy now to be familiar with Toronto and to have like friends here and to sort of to be kind of feel a little bit at home here, you know.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. Another question, or did you get the answer you wanted? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, it's the other lady there.
That one over there.
Nice. Cheers.
Okay, another question.
Yes.
I just had a question regarding your writing process because as you were speaking, you said that you had to learn a new way to approach writing this book.
In the book, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
What was it? Yeah, all of it, yeah.
So did you find that you were able to pull any of your experience writing music into what you were writing now, or was it a completely different process for you?
I found it a bit different. I mean, like in this story, I drew a lot more from just from talking, in a pub, or whatever, at a party or something than I did from writing songs. Because I always find, for me, I mean, the truth of it is the truth. I mean, that's the same pursuit no matter what you're doing, But the nuts and bolts of writing, what do we call it? Do we call it prose? Is that what we call it? Prose, yeah. I should learn this stuff before I came to the writers' room.
Well, now that you're an author.
That's right. I should know this stuff. But I found it hard. There's like specifics, like the storytelling. I didn't find that hard because I knew the stories and I didn't need to make them up. It was like, but the stuff I found hard was some of the mechanics, what I would call the mechanics of it. Like, I was writing a story or a scene or whatever you want to call it between two characters in the book. I don't remember who it was now, and I wrote the thing, and I realized that most of the page was them talking to each other, and I had he said about 17 or 18 times on a page, and it just read like so boring, like it was so boring to read, and so I just, actually I have a neighbor, who's a famous Newfoundland author. His name is Ed Rich. I know Ed. He wrote Rare Birds and a few other books, and he's my neighbor, and I sort of waited one morning until he was putting out garbage, and I went over, hey, man, what's going on? Can you have give me the page. And so like it was skills like that, but I tell you what sort of saved me, and Nita encouraged me to do it, thankfully, is I would write a chapter or a part of a chapter or a thing, and I would go down to my studio in my house, my little recording studio, and I record myself saying it. And if it didn't sound like me, I redid it. If it sounded like somebody else, that it wasn't going in the book. So, and that was the only, because it was the only kind of gauge I know. I know what I sound like. I don't know what I read like. You know what I mean? But you're right. It was a bit of a learning curve.
I can hear your voice in this book. Rare Birds, that was made into a movie with William Hurt.
Oh,
right?
So good, yeah.
Yeah, and I can see this as a movie. I mean, is it too early to talk about this, or
no.
even a TV series? I mean, there's such colorful characters.
Yeah. Kristen will play me in the film.
I was thinking Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe. Anyway, next question.
He's nowhere near good looking enough.
Okay. That is going to be tweeted.
Where's the camera that's on the internet?
That is going to be tweeted.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, you did a show here at Molson Amphitheater with Spirit of the West, which was
Yeah.
really an experience because you guys did each other's songs.
Yeah,
pretty much
heroes
all
of
night
mine,
long.
yeah.
What's it like playing with your heroes?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's great because I had really positive experiences, like meeting famous people who I looked up to, and in particular the Spirit of the West guys. I mean, they're the most generous and giving guys with their own talents and time and humble and I find that's been the true pretty much across the board in any kind of scenario. It's like most of the 99.9% of the people, who are successful in the arts are so grateful to have gotten successful in the arts, and it's true for the actor friends I've met and the writer friends I've met and all of them. I find that if there's ego and agenda and stuff like that, it often comes from other people in the music business. It's like the guy with the biggest ego on the record is the assistant engineer or something. So my joke has always been managing the manager and producing the producer and engineering the engineer and arranging the arranger and that kind of stuff, where the artist guys are all just trying to hold it all together. They can't believe their luck, But they're amazing, We've been really lucky. We played with the Chieftains and played with, a bunch of musical heroes over the years, and even Sting, it's like, hey, Sting. Want a beer? Hey, can I get you a beer, Sting? Hey, man.
That was a memorable night.
You're kind of awesome. The Sting is like Sting. It's so cool. I was joking. Most famous people I've met are either bigger, taller, older, younger, some nicer, not as nice, something way nicer than I thought, blah, 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 right? Except Sting. Sting is exactly like Sting, man. I'm telling you right now. You go up to Sting and it's like, hello, Sting, and he goes, hello. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Sting.
Must be nice not to have to say Mr. Sting anymore.
Yeah, what do you say?
Yeah.
But I'm so stunned, you know. I'm sorry to ramble on, but I'm so stunned because
Those are my notes.
I know, but I got to do it for this gag.
Yeah.
We were opening for Sting here at the same gig at Molson Amphitheater, right? And he had a famous drummer playing with him on that tour named Manu Katché. And he's an amazing, famous, like if you're a muso, you want to. And I was like, man.
Yeah.
And of course, we did our sound check, and Sting is so polite, you know, English. He's there standing on the side of the stage when we finished our sound check. Oh, hello, my name is Sting. It's nice to meet you. Oh, hello, Sting. You know, like, my name is Sting. You know, and it's like so awesome. Anyway, so I was sort of emboldened by the whole thing, you know, and like we go upstairs and backstage at the Molson Amphitheater, and it's like big long row of dressing rooms, and I go down and it's like, man, I'm going to say hello to Manu Katché. It's going to be wicked. Like he played on some of the greatest Peter Gabriel records. He's the man, you know, right? So I walk down, sure enough, man, he's there. He's in the dressing room like with a newspaper up like this. And I go, fuck this, man. I walk into the door. Man, how do you doing, man? My name's Alan from Great Big Sea. We're the opening band. We're here from Newfoundlander, man. It's a big thrill to play with you. I've seen you in a lot of big bands, Peter Gabriel, everybody. And he goes, And I go, all right. And I go down to our dressing room. And I say to a couple of the boys, I go, Manu Katché is a dick. Right? And I tell the story. And they go, I think it was Bob, because Bob always the smart guy. Bob always goes, what did you say? And I was like, I told him what I said. Blah, blah. He's like, Alan, he's French. English is like his fourth language. You know, like, oh, here's this Bayman from Petty Harbour. Hey, wasn't that like, it's a wonder he didn't call security. Anyway, thank you for the question. Thank you very much.
Next question.
Jeez.
Hi there.
Hello.
So, just want to say huge fan. But so you've kind of dabbled in so many different things when it comes to art. So I was just wondering what you kind of hope to be tackling next.
Oh, whatever comes along, you know, like I have the book, you know, we're doing a bunch of stuff. I have another solo record that's being mixed as we speak, and that'll come out in the first or second week of January. And then in most of 2015, I'm going to be playing music, doing, you know, with me and my band, and, you know, trying to conquer the world in different ways. But, you know, I'm just so grateful to have a gig, you know, doing anything in the arts. And it feels like a bit of a heyday for me, because I feel like I'm surrounded by people who are doing cool and interesting stuff all the time. Whether it's friends of mine who work on Republic of Doyle, you know, or friends who are in other bands like Mark and the guys, and you know, other friends who are doing movies, and other friends who are doing television shows, and other friends who are doing video games, and other friends who are composing for movies, and like whenever I just feel lucky to be in this sort of artistic circle of people that, you know, any day the phone could ring and you're asked to do something fun and interesting, and that'd be so amazing, you know. I mean, I'd kind of love to have a life going like the next 20 years to have, like, you know, half of it being doing something, and then half of it playing music, either with me or with Great Big Sea or with, you know, and just whatever. I mean, I think that's what anybody in the arts really wants, is to be working at something that's satisfying and fun, especially if it's driven by one of your buddies, you know, and you go like, hey, you want to go to Sweden and be on this thing with who's this? Yes, that's wicked. You know, like, do you know how to do any of that? No. So I don't know. Thank you, though. I mean, after this book, the next thing is a record. So, and then there's a couple of television and movie things that are on the bubble, but
Who's going to be on your record with you?
just me.
Just you?
Yeah, it's all
Acoustic?
me.
Yeah.
Shag everybody else. I don't want anyone on it. I want to be the first dick in all the music. I wrote a bunch of it with different friends from Newfoundland, from here in Ontario.
Jim Cuddy?
No, Ed Robertson.
Yeah?
B&L
All right.
wrote a
Bare
couple
Naked Ladies,
of,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Ed is on there, and there's a guy named Tog Salter produced a lot of it down in near Fort Erie. He's the guy that sort of works heavily with the band called Walk Off the Earth. You know those dudes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're awesome. And he just did a whole bunch of stuff on the Lights record and all that. And then I worked with a guy in Los Angeles named Jared Bettis, who's he produced most of the last Serena Ryder record. I got to do with him, and he plays in Melissa Etheridge's band. I got to meet Melissa Etheridge at the studio one night. Do you mind if Melissa drops in at the end of the set? No, I think that'd be all right. So, madam, and what are you going to say? And a bunch of people. So it's all good. And of course, a bunch of the people that are in my own band now: Corey Tedford and Kendall Carson. And if you come to hey, what show did you point out there, Captain? What was the? There's a whole bunch of shows coming up in January around this part of Ontario. So,
Murray Foster from Moxie Freaks.
Yeah, I wrote a song with
Yep.
Murray,
Yep.
and wrote Murray singing on one of the tracks, I think, and have a bunch of the dudes.
Nice.
It's all
Cregan
fun.
Brothers and Bare Naked Ladies? No? They were in your first one, right?
I love those dudes, but no, not yet.
Okay, well, we'll let you make the record. Another question,
That's
please.
it.
I spend the summer working on a tall ship in the city, and for the last 15 years, you've been part of my summer, and I want to say thank you very
Thank you,
much.
man. Thank you
because
very much. Thank
you guys are like the soundtrack of our boat.
Yeah, man. We're down here on the tall ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question, during this hiatus, I kind of wondered if there were any artists that you were kind of hoping that you could be collaborating with in the near future.
Pat Bennett, huh?
Oh, well, besides Pat, yeah.
Wheel comes full circle.
Yeah, I got to do a couple of them, man. Like this guy, Togs, I wanted to work with for a long time because he's sort of a very kind of current sounding dude who has, he's a real modern sounding musician, but his favorite artist is Stan Rogers. So he's got a foot like in the old world and a foot in the new world. So I was really excited to do that. And a couple other people that came. Like I got to do a couple more songs with Gordy Sampson down in Nashville. And Gordy, he's otherworldly talented. And it's just to be in, to get to jam with him for a day is always a treat, And I so rarely get to do it, but it was great fun. Thank you, man.
Okay.
Hi, I've just returned from living in Australia for 15 years.
Oh, where were you?
In Melbourne.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, lovely, great place. Nice to be home. Often told how wonderful Canadians are. Hard to describe what being Canadian is.
Mm-hmm.
For me, to be polite to other people that don't know anything about Canada or have been to Niagara Falls, you have one answer, but then you have the closet answer of it's Great Big Sea, who are the soundtrack of my daughter's life.
Fantastic.
So Tim Hortons, things that are the personal things that are home to someone who isn't home. It came down to my daughter could be somewhere in Banff and Great Big Sea would come on and she'd be up there because that was us. That defined who we were. So when you're away from home, what is home to you? There's the home that you have to tell people about, and then there's the home that really hits in your heart home.
Yeah, it's a good question because it's a weird thing being a Newfoundlander traveling internationally, right? Because people say, where are you from? You don't say Canada.
No.
You say, they're from Newfoundland. And they go, where's that? You say, it's in Eastern Canada. Like you just say it that way, It's go like, so you're part of Canada. Yeah, Newfoundland. And like one of the things I always think that's weird, yet it's so positive about Canada is that there's nowhere I've ever been in the world that's prouder of its regions than Canada, right? And it's so awesome to be from a regional kind of place in Canada because I think in other countries Newfoundland would have never survived, in the way that it has and thrived now, like in the culture of it all. And I always tell people that's one of the big differences between the sort of umbrella culture of Canada and the U.S. It's like there is no, all-American culture of, there is no apple pie of Canada. We don't have it. We don't want it. You know what I mean? Like we don't seek to make things all look kind of idyllic or the same, right? And the story I always so happily tell about being a musician in Canada is I was driving in a cab here one time, like in 1998 or something like that, and there was this radio station. I can't remember which one it was, but they played Susan the Gluecark, Our Lady Peace, Great Big Sea, and Celine Dion, back to back to back to back. And I was like, yeah, there you go. Find me another country on earth where that happens. So that's what Canada is to me. You know, it's like it's just this great celebration. And probably nowhere better for it than Toronto, you know, like where you go up into Danforth, and not only is like every country in the world represented, they all get a week. They get a week where they walk over, you know. This is the Malta week. Oh, okay. Get a Malta burger or whatever. I don't know. I'm making it up, but it's so awesome, you know. Like it's great. And that's how I talk about it, you know, and hockey. Sure. Thank you.
Last summer I lucked out and got to experience St. John's in Newfoundland for the very first time, booked-end with George Street Festival of B&L and Great Big Sea.
Oh, wicked,
which
yeah.
was fantastic as a vacation. Having never been to Newfoundland before and looking to go back, do you have a favorite local?
In St. John's?
Or Petty Harbour, or Kitty or Cove Harbour, or...
Well, years ago I would never confess to it because I was afraid too many people would show up. But the Republic of Doyle has spoken so much about their Duke of Duckworth in St. John's, where they hang out.
Best fish and chips, I believe?
Yeah, it's still an awesome place to go. I mean, that's a great pint in St. John's. But I always encourage people to go to St. John's and find your own spot, you know. And it's like, and there's luckily, like I said, in Petty Harbour, it's become kind of, you know, much more of a tourist town than it was when I was a kid. So there's a few cool things to do there that there wasn't before. Like there's a cool zip lining thing to do in Petty Harbour. And there's a restaurant in Petty Harbour, which was unheard of when I was a kid to have a restaurant. And I was just doing a thing with Rick Mercer in Petty Harbour, and he's like, you guys not only have a restaurant, you have a restaurant that's like, you go up to it, it's like Manhattan or something. It's like, can we get a table for 4? And they laugh at you. A table? Now, here, forget it. You know, it's like, places around. But yeah, I usually put like a little thing on the Great Big Sea website or on my website. It's like frequently asked questions kind of thing. It's like, what if I'm coming to St. John's or Newfoundland, you know, what should I do? You know, and I always go like, you know, here's 10 of my favorite things that I like to do. You know, it's like, don't come to St. John's and not walk around Siegel Hill and walk around the trail and come up the steps, you know. Don't come to, you know, if you got a chance to go to Bonavista when you're in Newfoundland or out by Trinity, you have to do it. If you get a chance to go to Fogo Island, you have to do it, you know. And like, if you get a chance to go down to Irish Shore, where I'm from, and do that loop down Petty Harbour and Bay of Bulls, Willis Bay, you have to do it, you know. And it's like, there's so many beautiful kind of day and night trips to have. And then there's this place called George Street.
Little tiny festival. They just do a little tiny festival every year. So.
It's fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you. Hey, man. Fog Devils, that away.
What's that?
Fog Devil shirt, loves it.
Thanks.
Good man.
I got one when I was in Newfoundland back in 2006. It's my second time ever meeting you. Been great big fan of Great Big Sea. I've seen you guys about 30 times.
Thank you.
All your shows at the amphitheater and so on and so forth. I was just wondering, with one of the albums I liked was The Hard and the Easy, and it was based on Soil, songs by Gerald S. Doyle. Yeah. And I've often wondered, is there any relation between you
No, they're the Doyles that had money.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, the Gerald S. Doyle was a businessman and a smart, diehard Newfoundlander, one of the most amazing Newfoundlanders in history. And he traveled around Newfoundland selling mostly pharmaceutical type stuff, you know, like stuff you might get at the drugstore, cures for this and that and the other thing around Newfoundland. And he, you know, to sell his products, he printed these. He was also a big lover of songs. He printed these songbooks, the Gerald S. Doyle songbook, and every other page would have an ad for one of his, you know, ointment to cure the summer complaint or whatever, you know, like type thing. And then on every other page would be a song, a Newfoundland traditional folk song that he collected and had transcribed or whatever. And those look, because Newfoundlanders love to sing, you know, they sort of ended up just hanging around on people's coffee tables, you know, and they kind of, over the 4 or 5 volumes or editions of it, they became kind of accidentally became out of the hundreds of Newfoundland folk songs, the 50 or 60 that are in those books became like the Casey Kasem top 40, right? He's kind of responsible for Lukey's Boat being way more known than the other ones, and Eyes to Buy, and these songs that Newfoundlanders just know by heart, and like, I think most people in the world don't remember learning probably Happy Birthday and Jingle Bells or something, but most Newfoundlanders, even who are not musicians, there's 20 songs that they just know. Like, you didn't sit down one day and learn how to sing Eyes to Buy or Lukey's Boat, you just know it. Comes with the birth certificate. And that was thanks to Gerald S. Doyle, really, but to answer your question, no, there's no relation. He,
I was just wondering, that's all.
No, he was from St. John's, and we're the Doyles. All the Doyles that I'm related to are from Petty Harbour. Two brothers left Cork and went to Petty Harbour, and here we are.
Got one more question here, lady behind you.
Thank you, man.
Hey, so I first met you on Chips and Dip a few years ago.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That was my brother.
And then
He looks like me. He comes out after concerts drinking and that. That's not.
Well, it wasn't a pub, but the second time I met you was on the set of your I've Seen a Little video.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, my question is, since you're a very accomplished person, is there anything that you do to stay humble?
To stay humble?
Yes.
No.
Impossible.
Jesus,
Why?
no.
Why would you want to do that?
Why would I do that? No, I do stuff to inflate my. No, I tell you one thing. Like, it's a good question because it's it is. I think it's tempting in the music business to start believing your own shite, But one of the things, and I'm sorry to keep picking on Mark and Kristen because they're here, but they'll speak to it.
Tell them about the sign. Tell them about the sign on the Toronto bar, like the bar. That was being humbled with that.
No, one of the things that's humbling all the time is just being an artist in Newfoundland. No matter what kind of success you have now, whether you're in a big band or on some big TV show or something. Now you want to drive down Water Street in a Hummer or something, and get out now and you watch. It's like, I remember when the Junos came to Newfoundland the first time. They're all like, well, where are we going to do the red carpet? I was like, guys, we don't have red carpet here. There ain't none here. Well, what about the limos? There's one. Dougie owns it. But the thing that, especially in the music business, and I think it's true for, the acting business as well, is that for every kind of, my joke is, for every pat on the back, there's 7 boots in the arse, right? And it's like, so it's like, and you just know it, and the story you're talking about is in the book about the first time we played here in Toronto. We did this thing where we were playing at a place on Queen Street.
The Horseshoe?
I think it was Ultrasound or X-rays or something it was called then or something.
Yeah.
And it had like a slidey-in-y lettery thing, right? And it said, I went down to see it was, it said, tonight from Newfoundland, great big sea. And I was like, this is wicked. Like, this is it. Like, chicks are going to dig us. This is our big break. And it was undeniably cool. Like, this was it. Like, there's no need for me to ever be humble again. But then, in the nighttime, I went back to do our show, and the wind had blowed out the G and the R. So it said, tonight from Newfoundland, eat big C. And I thought to my own self, maybe I should be a little bit humble still.
That's good. That's good.
It's built in. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan Doyle and Peter Howell.